Thank you for joining us. My name is Kevin Turf, and I'm the founder of Pay It Forward 9/11. You may have heard about this story through the musical called Come From Away, or maybe in my book that I wrote, Channel of Peace, Stranded in Gander on 9/11. And we are approaching the 19th anniversary of this event. It began in Austin, Texas, and it has now grown to 4 different countries over 19 years in US, Canada, UK, and Australia. So we're going to be hearing today from some people who are new board members. We just formed a board of directors, a charity to make a legitimate charity for the organization. And then we also have some volunteers, and we're going to share some ideas, especially because this is the first year that we're going to be having Pay It Forward 9/11 during a pandemic. So things are a little bit unique and different. And so we're here to try to inspire you with some new ideas. But I'd like to ask each person to introduce themselves and say where they're from and how long they've been involved in doing this type of random act of kindness work. First on my screen is Jeannette Gutierrez, and who is the secretary of the board of directors. Jeannette, hello.
Hello, thank you, Kevin. My name is Jeannette, and I want to say that the first time I specifically did a Pay It Forward activity was after reading Kevin's book. That's not to say I hadn't ever done it in my life, but it was very specific after reading Kevin's book. And then I asked other people to join me. So how many years could that be? When did you write it, Kevin?
It's been a little over 3 years ago was when I.
Okay. So, and now it's a family thing. I am a 9/11 survivor. I live in New York City, and I am also a volunteer tour guide at the 9/11 Memorial, and I'm pretty active in living life after 9/11.
And in a second, you'll come back and you'll share, just why you think it's important that, why we're doing what we're doing and why it means so much to you as a survivor.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go next to Ted Smith, who is the treasurer of Pay It Forward.
Okay, so I actually got involved with Pay It Forward 9/11 really through my friendship with Kevin, and really I think we'd known each other while we were both living in Austin, and then Kevin moved to Washington, D.C., where I was living from 2009 through 2016, and we became better friends at that point. And I actually was able to attend the one of the kind of a preview performances of Come From Away when it was in Washington at the Ford's Theater. In fact, on 9/11 of, I think it was 2016, before it went off to Toronto and then was headed for Broadway after that point. So when I came back to Austin, I tried to take the idea of 9/11 and to implement it. The first year I was here on a very small street from me, and so on 9/11 I walked down there with about $30 and bought my morning coffee and pastries and said to the cashier, okay, here's $30, here's a bunch of cards, and for as long as the money lasts, I want you to pay for the coffee and pastry or whatever the people behind me get. And as they ask what this is about, go ahead and hand them one of these. It says, smile, you're the recipient of a random act of kindness. And I think that idea of paying it forward and random acts of kindness that's been a bumper sticker on so many cars in Austin for as long as I can remember. But I think for me, part of my interest in this organization and also in the movement is something we were talking about before, and that's how in so many ways it really is a movement of the people. It's not about grand schemes, it's not about big organizations, it's about people on a people-to-people level just being able to do some kindness to each other and appreciating it and thanking each other. So that's part of why I'm involved.
Awesome. Next is Sarah Beechner. Sarah, introduce yourself. Where are you from, and how long have you been involved in this?
Hi, Kevin. Well, we go way back on this because I've been volunteering with Pay It Forward 9/11 ever since you had that kernel of the idea. You came back to Austin after having been stranded in the air and then in Gander, Newfoundland, and you asked the question, would Austin have opened its doors and fed and clothed and showed the kindness to strangers like you experienced in Gander? And was so excited when you brought that to the company that we worked at together. And then every year as a volunteer, I would go out into the community with a partner or two with $100 bill, and we would generate all sorts of creative ideas to pay it forward and to get people to remember and never forget. And we would bring lightness into a day that was typically just heartbreaking for all Americans. So to this day, every time 9/11 rolls around, it helps focus our family and our friends on something positive, and it continues to give back. It's just a wonderful way to remember the kindness on that day, that it wasn't all dark. So I look forward to sharing some of those memories and stories with the viewers, and we'll come back to that later, I guess.
Thank you. Next is Desiree. Who are you?
Hi, Kevin. Thanks. So yes, I'm Desiree from New York City also, and Jeannette is my aunt. So like she said, she got our family involved. So for as long as she's been involved, I probably got involved the day after because she's all about sharing good things. And I thought this was so great. And I myself, was in New York City when 9/11 happened, and I'm all about teaching everybody how to pay it forward because it's so important and it doesn't always cost you. It's all about that compassion and teaching others. And I love to bring that in every year as I work in a school to my staff members and to students and so forth.
Excellent. Yeah, and we'll come back to you because in particular, I'm going to ask you, we've got a lot of teachers that have participated over the years, and now some people are going back in person to teach and some are not. And so